But yeah, no, this is a really interesting actor who I think dominated the decade. Obviously, we had our actors who were the best of the decade, but I think it's hard to ignore in terms of popularity what Michael B. Jordan has done. Just because he's been in so much, and I think part of that is he was in Creed, and it's like you dominate one series, and then you go to Black Panther, and you dominate another series. Uh, so yeah, no, this of course is going along with the release of Just Mercy. Unfortunately, a film I haven't seen yet.
Me
But
too.
I thought you'd seen it.
I wanted to go see it, but it's an hour away, and we got a storm, so it's like.
Oh well, we also had tornado alarms, so I was like, should I risk my life to see Just Mercy? Maybe not. But there might be a review up for that later. I know Todd has seen it, so we'll try to get together to work on that. But the first one that I've seen of Michael B. Jordan's films, I don't know if you've seen, Hannah, but Chronicle.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll let you go first. What are some thoughts on Chronicle and also related to Michael B. Jordan?
I think I don't know. This one's a hard one because he's not in it all that much. Not he's in it a good amount, but like it's not like enough to like get a good like impression, I guess. I love this movie. I know a lot of people don't like this movie, but I love this so much.
Who doesn't like this movie?
I've seen so much hate
for
on Twitter recently. I like have seen so many people being like, Chronicle sucks, and I'm like, shut up.
It's so weird.
It's mostly like Dane DeHaan haters. They're like, Dane DeHaan sucks, and I'm like, shut up, leave him alone. I love Dane DeHaan. Sorry. But
coming for Dane DeHaan's throat.
I don't know why.
Goblin throat.
I literally don't know why people like so many people hate him all of a sudden. Kind of makes me upset. But yeah, I love this movie so much. I've seen it a lot. I remember watching when I was like quite a bit younger and just being like oh my god, I have superpowers now. Like I used to like try and think that I could do shit with my hands like after I watched that movie. Like I was like into it. And I still watch it like all the time now, and I'm still like, oh my god, I feel like I'm like a kid and like pretending like I have superpowers. And it, I think it really like because it's rated R. Yeah, it's very rated R.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has a lot of similarities to Akira, the anime film. But it like on a surface level, not like it's completely the same. In a really interesting way. Obviously. For whatever reason, I think after this film, a bunch of people, I don't know if you remember this, Hannah, but a bunch of people are like, oh yeah, like this is probably mostly Max Landis's work, being a good writer. Which I don't. So the only thing that I want to throw out is like Max Landis after this, like American Ultra's a little bit of fun, but he also did Victor Frankenstein and Bright. So like not the best, and of course like Josh Trank after this did Fan Four Stick, but you can argue like there's a lot of studio intervention, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really excited for Fonzo. I know this isn't Michael B. Jordan aspects of the film, but I just wanted to throw that out because I think Chronicle was actually in a really interesting way, really ahead of its time.
I was about to bring that up with the R rating thing. I think
for sure, yeah,
definitely a step in the like path where it's like, yeah, we can do like R-rated, like superhero-y kind of stuff movies, and they'll work.
which the one thing that I was going to throw out about this is this basically is almost a little bit different, of course. But the promise of Brightburn was, what if Superman came down and he wasn't a good guy? And this sort of is a twist on the Superman story where it's like, hey, what if instead of one kid being raised in Kansas by two amazing parents, it's three random teenagers and they can do whatever they want. And just that fun sandbox. Yeah, you're right. Like after the movie, I was like, me and my friends were like pushing our hands to like open doors and stuff, and we were like, oh, that movie was so cool. And I just remember like the promotional material with the kites as they were tricking people into thinking people were actually flying through the sky. Which I thought was really funny. For whatever reason, I don't know. I would have been a little bit younger when I saw that, so maybe I wouldn't have thought it was as funny. But I just feel like people would think now, like, oh, it's such a subversion of the superhero genre we've come to know and love. And maybe it's just the Dane DeHaan haters, but I just feel like this film gets forgotten. And the thing I'll say about
and it's
Michael
so
B.
frustrating.
Jordan, yeah, it's super frustrating. But I do like Dane DeHaan and Alex Russell. I think their chemistry is awesome. However, I walked out of this movie being like, I don't know who Michael B. Jordan is. I probably didn't know his name by then. So I was like, oh, the character of Steve. But I was like, that Steve guy is the coolest guy ever. I don't know what it was, but I think I was probably still in junior high. So like him being the cool kid in high school, I was like, whoa, he's cool.
I think that's why I probably didn't gravitate towards him more. So
yeah,
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go with like the outcast kind of guy.
That's fair. And then the film after this, much more of a Michael B. Jordan vehicle. I don't know again if you've seen. Actually, I'm pretty sure you've seen this. Fruitvale Station.
Yes, I love this movie so much.
Same. This is. I'll just throw this out real quick. This is one of the few films. So I took a intro to film class in college, and there were a bunch of films that just felt like work to me. This was one of the films that was assigned to us. It did not feel like that because it's phenomenal. It's Coogler and Michael B. Jordan teaming up in amazing duo that I'm so glad met and made inspirational projects for the decade. It's a really amazing story that needed to be told about the character or the real life person of Oscar. And I think Michael B. Jordan just, I don't know, he's able to give a really open performance and just really just the opposite of what maybe you would expect from this character going into it. He's just very I'm at a loss for words. But it's like open emotionally. He can handle like a bunch of stuff. He has some depth to him, I guess. But Hannah, what are the thoughts on Fruitvale Station?
Yeah, I completely agree. I love this movie so much. I think Ryan Coogler, he's one of him and Luca Guadagnino really know how to capture like city and place. And I think it's very like you can with Creed and this, it's very like prevalent that like, you know, he really likes to make sure that you feel like you're like there and like just kind of like a fly on the wall watching what's happening. And I love that about Fruitvale Station. And Michael B. Jordan, I love what you're trying to say because it kind of reminds me of bringing up Call Me by Your Name. And again, it kind of reminds me of Timothée Chalamet and Call Me by Your Name a little bit. Because it's a performance that's like subdued, but also you can tell there's like something that you're supposed to like scratch away like from the surface, you know, and like it like kind of like builds throughout the whole film, and it's like it just really like kind of brings you into like like how I like to put it with Timothée Chalamet and Michael Jordan in this. It's like they just both kind of like take you in like a bear hug, and they're like, you know what, we're in this together. We're gonna experience this together, and I love that about Michael's performance so much because I feel like in his like Creed and going on, we don't really see that side of him. Again, I think that Fruitvale Station is definitely his most like restrained performance, and it's his most underappreciated performance. And I wish more people would watch Fruitvale Station. I really do.
Yeah, it's one of those weird ones because tons of people saw Creed, and for sure, even more on top of that, tons of people saw Black Panther. So I wish it was like, oh, hey, let's go back and see what's up with, Brian Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, because it has both those two. But after that one, the only reason I want to throw this out real quick, because Michael B. Jordan was a voice actor in this. I don't know if you had this one on your notes, Hannah, but Justice League Flashpoint Paradox.
Was
he? He is Cyborg in Flashpoint Paradox. And the only reason I mention it is because I remember like always thinking, oh my gosh, Michael B. Jordan's going to be Cyborg. Michael B. Jordan's going to be like the perfect cyborg ever. Like I can't wait to hear his booyah. And look, the guy that plays Cyborg, I'm pretty sure he was more of a theater actor beforehand. So
yeah, he was.
He just wasn't really put in like a good place to thrive as Cyborg. So I don't think he was a bad choice is what I'm trying to get at. I just feel like Michael B. Jordan, okay, there's another superhero film we're going to get to in a little bit. And maybe Michael B. Jordan doesn't save that movie. But I just feel like Michael B. Jordan would have been a nice, charismatic performance to add to that. The next one after that, Hannah, have you seen That Awkward Moment?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I haven't, so feel free to go off.
Okay, this movie's bad.
Oh no!
It's like frat humor at its like worst. And Michael B. Jordan isn't really in it a whole lot. Michael B. Jordan and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they're Zac Efron's like sidekicks, and like their like only interactions take place in like a diner, and it's always them like complaining about shit. It's always like trying to be like, haha, this is funny dialogue. It's like quirky, and it's like, no, it's not. So yeah, like this movie's bad. Don't watch it. Yeah, just fucking don't.
Yeah. No, I just remember seeing this and being like, oh well, Michael B. Jordan and Zac Efron are in a movie and they're both very handsome, so like it's probably good, right? And then seeing a couple people being like, yeah, this isn't funny.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It doesn't really have a plot either, from what I remember. Like I remember watching it and just being like, what's the story though?
Yeah, always a good thing.
I think it's like because they all like get into an argument or something. I watched it a long time ago. When I wasn't supposed to be watching it, like I was like 13. And
someone call the police.
And I think they all got into like an argument and they're like best friends. And they got like make up or like better. I don't know.
Nice. So ringing endorsement from Hannah out of all of Michael B. Jordan's films. This is the one.
Watch That Awkward Moment.
Yeah, That Awkward Moment. And then moving on to another not so good film, Fan Four Stick.
Ooh.
Hannah, have you seen this?
I have, unfortunately.
Okay, so this is also not another one I've seen, and the only reason is because I saw the reviews and I was like, oh, well, maybe there's fun to it or whatever. And then I remember my sister's a lot younger than me, and she went to a movie, and I don't remember. I don't know if you remember when you were like 10 to 12 age, but I actually like more on the 10 or 11 side. You tend to enjoy most movies, especially if they're like action movies and there's colors. And I just remember because every time I'd ask my sister, like, "Oh, hey, did you like that?" She'd be like, "Yeah, it was fun." And then she came back from Fan Four Stick and she was like, "That movie was bad," and like she was very shocked that like movies could be bad.
Isn't that like the worst? Whenever you discover that movies can be bad, like there's like differences between like good and bad movies.
For sure. I think the age where I was getting to that point was World War Z. Because I remember being like, well, like it had zombies and Brad Pitt, so it's not bad. But like clearly, like it's not the best movie ever.
Like there was a point where my favorite movie was Ride Along and Red Dawn.
Like
Josh Peck.
I kind of like the new Red Dawn.
Really?
I don't know what it is. I think it's just because there's teens having fun in a teen movie and it has Chris Hemsworth and I'm like, ooh, Chris Hemsworth's so cool.
Wait, is he in that movie?
He is.
I don't remember. I just remember Josh Peck.
Yeah, no, Josh Peck
That's it.
A lot. So is Josh Hutcherson.
Is he like the dad or something?
He is the older brother.
Does he drive a truck?
I don't know. Do you want to talk about Michael B. Jordan and Fan Four Stick?
Sorry.
You're good.
I'm like, this is like such a I don't know, something in my brain just went off and was like, oh, you kind of remember this. Sorry, let's talk about Michael B. Jordan.
Is he at least good in this movie? Oh, no.
I don't think anything about this movie is good. I really don't. I think that everyone who was in the movie was quite bad. I think it's because everyone on set just wasn't having a good time and didn't want to be there. Obviously Miles Teller did not want to be there. We all know this because him and Josh Trank almost got into a fist fight. And I think that probably just like bled onto everyone else, and everyone else was just like, oh shit.
And Michael B. Jordan was like, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm working with Ryan Coogler again.
Yeah, he was probably like, this is not a place that I want to be. So I'm gonna just get the job done and go. And that's completely understandable. So yeah, I guess he's like the best out of everyone. I don't know. It's hard to say is the best. Maybe it's just because I think he's hot that I'm like, yeah, Michael B. Jordan's the best part. So yeah,
fair.
hot for real because he's the Human Torch. Ha ha.
Ha ha.
Wink,
And
wink.
with that bad joke, we'll move on to a good movie. Michael B. Jordan in Creed.
Yeah. I love this movie so much.
Yeah, no, this movie slaps. The passing of the torch, if you will, I guess. I'm not gonna lie, when this came out, I hadn't seen any or when this got announced, I hadn't seen any Rocky films. So I was like, "What? Who's Adonis Creed?" Like it wasn't.
What is this Creed?
Yeah, I was like, the band Creed. Oh.
Creed from The Office. He's getting his own movie.
He's getting his own spinoff. Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. But I think in such a really interesting way, because obviously tons of people probably had such investment with Sylvester Stallone. Michael B. Jordan just really sells, hey, this is my franchise now, and Sly's still going to be in it. Like we're still going to have Rocky, of course, but this is about me. In a really fun way. I think part of that is the kineticness that Coogler is able to get out of all the actors, especially in the boxing scenes. I just think the cinematography was incredible. I'm pulling up the name right now. Marissa Alberti. She also did The Wrestler. So of course, like The Wrestler also has brilliant cinematography. But this is just, it's on a different level. It's just really fun. And I don't know, there's just a certain, in a weird way, there's almost a certain innocence that Rocky never really had. I don't know if you've seen all the Rocky films.
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be my favorite of the Rocky films is probably Rocky 3.
Oh, okay, cool. I get that.
Yeah, the only reason
Rocky
is because
3 more than most people.
Yeah, there's so many people that are like, it's a bad movie, and the reason like I love it so much is just because it's Rocky and Apollo Creed just having a fun time, and for whatever reason, when I saw Creed the first time, I had only seen Rocky, and then I went back and watched all the Rocky films before going back to Creed 2, and I just feel like rewatching Creed after seeing the Rocky movies, I was like, oh, there's so much more depth here because Adonis Creed wasn't just a competitor, he was Rocky's friend. And I just feel like that creates such a rich relationship between Michael B. Jordan and Stallone. And just simple things like Michael B. Jordan being like, you got to take off my gloves because I need to pee. Like, it just, I don't know. It adds so much more to this character, but feel free to love on Creed. Also, Michael B. Jordan's ripped in this movie, like ripped beyond belief. And this was, I'm pretty sure, like the introduction to, oh, hey, Michael B. Jordan's one of the hottest guys on the planet. Respect him.
No, I wasn't saying that, like, I feel like this is probably how it sounded. It was shit. I was saying, like, he had to take his gloves off to shit, not pee.
Yeah. No, I completely understand.
So I've seen this movie so many times. I've watched it, like, at least once a month. I watch this movie a lot, and it's in my top 10 films of the decade. And Michael B. Jordan, I feel like he just plays, okay, so coming into this movie, I knew I saw Jordan Chronicle and Fan Sick, and I was like, you know what, and Fruitvale Station, and I was like, you know what, I don't know how he's gonna fit into Rocky, but we're gonna try it, right? And then the movie started, and I was like, oh my god, he's playing this like broken, like closed off like man so well, and just like it's another one of those performances, kind of like Fruitvale Station, but like in a different way, obviously, where it's like there's like more to the surface, you know, and he plays that so well, where it's like you just want to keep on watching to, you know, see more about him, more about Adonis. And Creed, just the movie itself is just, I love it so much. It's so perfect. Like I was talking about before with Fruitvale Station, like Ryan Coogler really makes you feel like you're in Philadelphia, and like they're just kind of like a fly on the wall watching it happen. And it's one of those movies where it's like you can watch it whenever and it'll just make you feel better instantly because it pumps you up. And it's like, you know, I know like a lot of the Rocky movies try and go for that, but I don't think that there's a better like montage, like training scene, like ever better than the one in Creed, like of him helping Rocky and like like that running scene with like the
motorbikes. Oh,
yeah, and the
it's
score.
so good.
The score is so good.
I listen to the score when I'm running, and I'm like Adonis, or I'm like Creed.
Yes. And I just like the one take boxing not boxing match. Is it boxing? Yeah,
it's boxing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a sports fan. I don't know the difference between boxing and wrestling. Sorry.
No, you're
so yeah.
The one thing I was gonna throw out to you, I know I get this is like a sports movie, and maybe like people consider it not high art or whatever because fuddy duddies, but I just feel like this was this was a year where I was like, hey, the way we do Oscars is sort of bad because look, I'm not going to sit here and say because they're two films I have not seen and maybe I should watch them and be like, oh, hey, these are great. However, I feel like no one's talking about The Danish Girl or Trumbo. And, Bryan Cranston and Eddie Redmayne are good actors in other stuff. I just feel like this is one of those cases where it's like, hey, why didn't we nominate Michael B. Jordan?
I completely agree. Like the physical performance alone is like, a reason to consider a nomination, and then on top of that, his performance is just amazing. Like that one line at the end where he's like, I'm not a mistake. That could easily be like such like a cheesy, like, throwaway line, but the way he delivers it just like breaks you completely. And it's like, oh my God, that was good. Sylvester Stallone, I think this is his best performance that I've ever seen from him. There's a reason he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and honestly, I think that he should have won.
And everybody thought he was gonna win.
Yeah, I thought that he should have won. I thought this movie should have like swept the Oscars. Honestly, I feel like this should have been like one of those like blockbusters that like crept its way into the Oscars and won quite a bit. I know Black Panther won a lot, but I would have loved to see Creed get the same treatment.
Yeah, what it might have been is because Mad Max and The Martian sort of scratched that itch. Mm-hmm. It may have been the Oscars being like, oh, hey, well, we did two of the movies that were fun, and The Revenant's kind of blockbustery, I guess. So maybe that was part of their thought, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where like
I feel like they always like love sports movies though. Like
that is true. The Fighter, like, a couple other. I'm trying to think of others in recent years.
But with this one, they're like, no, and I'm like, why? Probably like one of the best in the top 3 at least of like sports movies that have come out in the decade. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, and of course, Creed ended up winning for Ryan Coogler being best director of the decade. So still in the tourney, still alive. But we'll move on to visit Wakanda with a Black Panther, one of the biggest films of this decade. Oh man, Michael B. Jordan's good in this movie.
So good.
Almost to the point, like, I don't know. I know a bunch of people say this, and I actually really like Chadwick Boseman. I just think, look, Michael B. Jordan's given the flashier role, and I think like they understand what the acting capabilities of both these actors. I'm not gonna lie, I watched Gods of Egypt, and that might be a direction thing. Chadwick Boseman was poo-poo in that, like the worst acting I've seen in a while. That's not to say he's great here, but I just mean you have this. It's similar.
Maybe he was too restrained in Black Panther.
Exactly,
he gave too quiet of a performance.
Yeah, and
that could also just be that Michael B. Jordan is so great that it makes his performance seem more subdued than it actually is. But
what I was going to say on top of that is like this might be one of those cases where like, yeah, Christian Bale's solid in The Dark Knight, and he's not really being asked of anything, but you can't look away from, oh yeah, Heath Ledger like is given the flashier, fun performance, and he is allowed to sort of do whatever he wants. And I feel like that's the same case here with Michael B. Jordan. Also, it helps that him and Coogler were working together. And when like a ton of people walk away from the movie being like, no, the villain was right, I feel like that does have to do with, how good of a performance Michael B. Jordan turns in. Because, and just how like the charisma he has, I feel like it's sort of like, I don't know. I've always
lights up the screen every time he's in Black Panther. Like it doesn't feel like a comic book movie when he's on screen, to me at least. Like it definitely feels like, I don't know, like a thriller, like an interrogation kind of like. every time like he and Chadwick Boseman are playing off each other, it feels like I'm watching like that interrogation scene in like The Dark Knight, because it just reminds me of that kind of dynamic.
For sure. Even more fun is just, I don't know. he's just giving all the fun lines, and like even the
like
scene
high
where,
auntie, like oh my god, it's so good.
even the scene where like he's in the museum with the lady, she's like, "Where did you think you got this artifact?" She's like, "Oh, well, we uncovered it, yada yada," and he's like, "No, you didn't. You stole it."
Yes.
Yeah,
And he's
no,
like, you should be checking your coffee, or like watch what you put in your body, or something like that. And I'm like,
he
so
says you should watch what you put in your body, and then she faints, and you're like, "Yeah, you go, Michael B. Jordan."
It feels like he feels so like, this is such a confident performance, and like throughout the whole movie, it just feels like he's exuding like this kind of like, I guess like, I hate using this word, so I always feel like cringy using it, but like it feels badass like every time he's on screen.
For sure. That I think I was mentioning it earlier. It's sort of like, I've said this before, Brad Pitt just has like a raw coolness to him that like I get Once Upon a Time in Hollywood isn't necessarily like the most like high art performance ever, but you can't lie that there's like maybe two other people that could even come close to getting that coolness. And I feel like eventually Michael B. Jordan's going to be at that level of just like, oh yeah, no, you see Michael B. Jordan on screen and you're just like, whoa, he's cool.
I now that you've like, I've never like thought of that before, but now that you like put those two like in the same conversation, I totally see it.
I'm also really excited because Michael B. Jordan has like a ton of money now. And I'm really excited for him as a producer. I know we haven't seen the film, and we're gonna get to it but he produced both Creed 2 and Just Mercy. And I just can't wait to see like what he's gonna be up to, because I think he's just a really interesting individual. And I just feel like Black Panther was a little bit of that launching off point, because so many people, because it was such a big movie, and so many people were walking away from that being like, oh yeah, Michael B. Jordan's incredible.
I don't think they would have killed him off. They knew the kind of response they would have got from Killmonger.
Well, okay, the only thing that I'll say here is, okay, for sure, don't bring them back. I know like it would be so fun and there's so much you can do with that character, but you deny the importance of that death at the end of the film if you bring, you know, that character back in Killmonger. I completely agree with you. I don't think Marvel knew what they had.
Yeah, I love that. I personally love that they killed him off at the end of the film, because it makes it just feel so much more impactful. That scene of them like looking out into the sunset, and then, you know, Killmonger just like dying. It's one of the more emotional parts of the film, and it definitely leaves you on that note. But yeah, I think that Marvel definitely had no idea what kind of response they were going to get from Black Panther, like the movie entirely.
Yeah, for sure. But after that, I don't know if you've seen this film, Hannah. Have you seen Fahrenheit 451?
I have, and I hate it. I have some thoughts about it.
Okay, go for it. I've read the book, but I haven't seen the film.
This movie makes no fucking sense.
Really?
Okay. Absolutely none.
Have you read the book?
I've read parts of the book. I tried to finish it, but I just never have. So
okay, gotcha.
But I know I've read like spoilers, and like I've had people explain the book to me multiple times. So I've basically read the book.
Okay, gotcha.
But like everything about this movie just makes zero sense at all. Mike, he's trying. He's really trying, and I respect him for that. But it's just like everything falls on its face, because they like, there's so many subplots in ones, and it's not even really faithful to the book at all. They just try and like make shit up, and they're like, yeah, this kind of seems like it could be in the same kind of universe that we that's in the book, but you know what, fuck those source material. We're just gonna do what we want to do. And it's like, why? Yes. And like they always start, like there's so many points in the film where things will start happening from the book, and then like they just completely leave it there, and then you don't hear about it ever again. Like the film feels like incomplete, and it feels like it feels like a film where it's like 3 directors like directed it, and then each one of them quit after a while, and then they just kind of like scripted it all together. That's exactly what the movie feels like.
So weird, because I'm not gonna lie, I was a little excited for Fahrenheit 451. I really enjoyed the book, and on top of that, the director did 99 Homes before this. I don't know if he maybe worked on TV in between or what, but I actually really love 99 Homes. I don't know, it's more of a well-written film, so maybe that's part of it. But no, this is so interesting to hear that it wasn't good.
I remember like going, like I remember hearing about, oh yeah, like I love Michael B. Jordan, I'm excited for this, right? And I was like, I knew about the source material, and then I started watching it, and I was like, what even is it? Like, who like thought of this and was like, yeah, this needs to happen. Like, I just want to know who like read the book and was like, you know what, I like the source material, but not enough to actually like do something with it.
I'm only gonna take 8 pages from the book.
That's basically what it is. And like they try to like modernize it in a weird way, and it's just, I don't watch it.
Oh no, that's not good, because that's whatever. It's fine. Have you seen? Moving on to the next one. Have you seen Ken?
No.
Okay, see, I have seen this one. This is where I get my time, I guess. I'm not gonna lie, for whatever reason, I was excited about Ken, because it had James Franco, and it teased a little bit of Michael B. Jordan. Maybe, who knows? The thing I'll say about this film, that isn't, I mean, I guess in context maybe. So if you want to skip ahead and know nothing about this film, whatever. Michael B. Jordan is the best part of this film. However, he's not really in this film too much, which is unfortunate, because the small amount of time he's on here, I was like, oh, that's a charismatic actor. That was depth to someone. Like, I actually cared about what the lines he was saying. And for whatever reason, like, Dennis Quaid has been in other things that I really like him.
The Intruder.
Yeah. I was gonna go. Isn't he in the baseball movie?
Yes.
I forgot what it was, but I
forgot
watched
what it's called too.
all the time as a kid. It's not Dennis Quaid, because I can't find it.
He's in a baseball movie.
The Rookie. Yeah. But yeah, no, I really love Dennis Quaid in The Rookie, and he's okay in this. He's not bad. Jack Rayner, I actually thought wasn't very good.
I think he's a very good actor.
I don't think he is either. And a bunch of people told me, they're like, "Oh yeah, he really played the boyfriend really well in Midsommar." And I was like, guys, I don't know if he's a good presence. I am not ready to award that yet. Is he have you seen Sing Street?
No.
I think he's the older brother in Sing Street, and that's probably his best performance.
Oh wait, Sing Street. I thought you said Sanctuary.
Oh no.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen Sing Street. I think he's the older brother in that too. Yeah, I remember
he's solid in that.
I think that movie's so boring. Sorry.
Oh, what? How dare you? But anyway, back to Michael B. Yeah, no, I just, for whatever reason in this movie, like, I was like, oh well, like, there's good elements here, I guess, and I could see why. The thing is, this is based on a short film, and it's a short film that I think did quite well at a couple awards festivals and stuff that people were really interested in. So with that said, I understand maybe why Michael B. Jordan wanted to be involved. But yeah, no, just not. It's boring. Unfortunately, nothing to really write home about. But a good movie coming next, and I guess it's going to be our last one, unless I see Just Mercy tonight, which I probably won't. But just to save my butt if I do. But we're talking Creed 2 to finish this out.
I love this movie, and I think this is Michael B. Jordan's best performance, in my opinion. So yeah.
I think it's really interesting that you throw that out first to start out, because I think it's really weird, because I think Coogler is clearly a better director. I think he had a better team, but I also think the fights look really cool in Creed 2.
They do.
Yeah, no, and the biggest thing, like, for me is, I think so the thing that bothers me so much is they do a ton with Michael B. Jordan, where I think like obviously Creed, like we were harping home how like it has a ton of depth. They went above and beyond in Creed 2 in a really interesting way that didn't feel like it was extending the story or anything like that. It just felt like a natural progression for this character.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of like a hubris of, you know, what we've seen of Adonis Creed in a really like fun way that didn't necessarily feel as cheesy as Rocky films have in the past. The only thing that I'll say is I wanted a little more. This isn't Michael B. Jordan, of course. I wanted a little more about Baby Drago. And
Okay.
I just feel like the film doesn't deliver in that aspect. But
See,
in terms of what it does for Adonis, it excels in that regard.
mm-hmm. I with the Dragos, it's different because like in Creed we don't remember the like villains in Creed. No one
Exactly.
cares about them. But that's because they didn't try and make it a big deal in Creed. Like they never focused on the villains in Creed. And then in Creed 2, they chose to focus on the villains and make them a big presence. And I think that was where the issue lies, is
For
that
sure.
like
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
supposed to, be invested in the villains in Creed 2 and we're not in Creed 1. So that's the problem.
I just thought, okay, so for me, I thought and this might be just expectations. I also think this is a random aside before I get to this point. I also think Tessa Thompson's really good in this film.
Oh, she's
And
amazing.
yeah, if Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson could be in like all movies for the rest of time, I wouldn't be mad. Yeah, no. But no, the thing I was gonna throw out is I think you could get some really organic scenes with I think it's Victor Drago and Adonis Creed because they're both similar people in that they have these huge like almost I guess overlooking shadows above them of their fathers and who they were and how they now have to live up to them, where I think like you could have an actual story where Victor's like, I didn't want this, but I was forced every day to fight, like, in eventually to fight you, to overcome you. Like, I get my father killed your father. That's not my fault. Like, I'm not the one who did this. I don't get why you're mad at me. And this film, unfortunately, again, that's in my head. And for whatever reason, I thought that's where this film was going. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so cool. And it never goes there. But it also has Michael B. Jordan working out in like Arizona in like 120-degree weather, and it's one of the coolest Rocky montages ever.
It's so awesome. I think that the score lends a lot to the training montages in both the Creed films, and I think that's what makes them feel so like cool and like epic. It definitely crosses over into Creed 2 when he's like when he's running towards the car with Rocky, and it's that like shot that stays on him, and oh my god, it's so good.
Also, like it helps modernize them, but it keeps them grounded in the Rocky lore. And just in a way, I don't know. Like I feel like people don't talk about this a lot because like there's plenty of people that are like, ugh, all movies are nowadays or reboots, sequels, yada yada. All that's I understand, completely understand. However, I feel like people don't talk about the good ones. And like I throw out like Rise of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. Trying to think of others off the top of Blade Runner 2049, and then I throw in Creed because like these have been like worthy additions, and like I'd throw them into like the best of Rocky films. The one thing I was gonna throw out with Creed also is I don't know if you remember. Actually, you probably do because you've seen the film a ton of times. This film doesn't do the thing where it like pops up and says yada yada's name. He's a heavyweight. He fights with his southpaw.
Oh yeah, they did that in Creed 1 where it's like every time you met a new fighter, like they'd like throw up like kind of like the Suicide Squad cards.
And
yeah, they didn't do this in this movie. Yeah, I loved it so much too. Like when it first happens during that first sparring match, oh my god. I'm seeing it in my head now, and I love it.
Yeah, because you're right, they don't focus on the villains, but when you see that title card pop up, and it's like
it's intimidating.
Yeah, it's like Victor McPunchyface, and he killed 10 people, and he's really strong. And you're like, oh, this guy's really good. He must be good.
It feels like you're like in Adonis's thoughts, because that's probably exactly what he's thinking when he's about to like go spar with this guy.
When he's paid attention to like so many of these fights. Yeah. But yeah, no, really good film. I think often a little bit overlooked, unfortunately, for whatever reason.
Like I feel like both of the Creed films are like definitely overlooked, like blockbusters or like the sports movies or anything along those lines. But Creed 2 especially kind of faded in the background, sadly. And I think it was because a lot of people were turned off because Ryan Coogler wasn't attached to it. He was just a producer on it. He didn't even write on it. But I think that turned a lot of people off. But it's really good. Creed 2 is a worthy sequel to Creed, and it's a worthy addition to the Rocky series. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people just look past it, and it's like, it's really good. And I wish that, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know why it faded in the background as much as it did, because I literally don't hear anyone talk about it ever. But I wish more people would recognize, like, give it the props it deserves, because it's a great movie, actually. I'd say I really enjoyed the movie. I just rewatched it
I would
yesterday.
also agree with that. I watched. Okay, so what's interesting is both these films, for whatever reason, I was like, oh, they're just add-on sequels that I don't need to see. And I think I was fairly busy. This came out Thanksgiving, and it was a pretty packed Thanksgiving break from memory. It was Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Creed
Widows
2.
was out during that time too.
Yep. And the thing is, I didn't watch both of them. I watched Wreck-It Ralph, and I was like, oh, that film goes places, but I don't feel like it's a good sequel. And then I watched Creed.
I'm hanging up.
No, but then I watched Creed 2, and I was like, oh my gosh, this furthers this story so much. I love this. And yeah, no, shout out to Stephen Caple Jr. Really hard to fill in the steps of Ryan Coogler, especially after he sort of birthed the Creed story. I feel like, you know, he goes different places, and they're very different directors. But I still think it's one of those directors where it's like, oh, after this, like, hey, I want to see you work on your own project, you know?
Yeah.
And see what
I feel
you're
like
able
it's
to do.
less of like a boxing movie too than Creed. Like
I would agree with that too.
It's more of a drama for sure. Like there's so many scenes where it's just like Rocky and Adonis talking, and I love that.
Yeah, no, it's really good dialogue between the two. But yeah, no, I think that's gonna wrap it up for Michael B. Jordan talk, because we